We're at a really important time, I think, with in our culture, in our society, because I think everyone kind of knows the game is up. Once, when I was traveling a few years ago, we kind of went traveling without money, and we were getting like, lifts and accommodation from like very rich people and from very poor people. So it was interesting. It was a very interesting experience. I got to meet a lot of different people, but one of the things that kept coming up all the time was people sort of were sensing that some sort of big change was coming.
Yeah.
So people know that they know in their hearts of hearts that it can't really continue like this. That this, whatever we were doing, that's not sustainable. We have to do something about it. Maybe they're not ready to go for the money-free idea entirely, but a lot of people are certainly thinking that things are definitely moving in a direction which is away from what we have been doing.
I like the short-term gain and the long-term pain. I like the Wall Street gains and the third world shame. I like the Wall Street gains and the third world shame.
Yes, we are here in Frankfurt before the European Central Bank.
Oh yes, yeah. Quite an apt icon.
I hope you had a great journey.
Yes, I had a really nice time. Really looking forward to Z-Day tomorrow to put across a few ideas and to listen to other people's ideas. It's fantastic. It's a great opportunity, and really to congratulate Peter Joseph on all the work that he's done and the effort that he's put in, which has really been fantastic, And of course, we'll be meeting Lee Camp and Abby Martin, of course, will be there, and a few other people that I actually know quite well from Facebook but have never met personally. So it's going to be really quite an interesting experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Yeah, me too. Yeah. So, what I wanted to ask you is, how did you become interested in the future of society and its systems?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think a lot of people, like myself, maybe became more questioning about things after the 2008 sort of banking crisis, where we suddenly realized that everything was so fragile. This kind of like financial system that we kind of relied upon was actually so fragile, and suddenly overnight everything was literally in a crisis mode. And as like most people, and like myself, we're kind of questioning, well, how can this system be so fragile? So I suppose that got me to asking questions about what is money, and how does this whole system that we operate, how does it work, and is it really working in the best interest of everything? And I think once you begin asking those questions, it kind of sets you on a journey of discovery, I suppose. I came across Peter Joseph's films firstly, and I came across the Venus Project, and I started investigating these ideas of a future beyond money and this kind of thing. And so really, it sprang from there. I looked at the Venus Project. I liked what they were proposing, but I thought that they were a little bit maybe too specific in their ambitions, and I thought that maybe we could, let's take the best of what everyone is kind of trying to say, and I tried to put that into the Free World Charter, which is a thing that as I know I did in 2011. And so really what I wanted to do was actually just distill all those ideas down into the very basic form, and came up with the Free World Charter, which has been quite successful now, so I'm very happy with that. Yeah. And so I'm going to be looking forward to talking about that tomorrow at Z-Day as well.
So what was the point that actually started you to think critically? Were you critical before, or was it really like the banking crisis in 2008?
Well, I had quite a successful business up till then. In early 2008, I actually sold my business, which was an extreme stroke of luck, because had I left it 6 months later, I probably wouldn't have been able to sell it at all. So unfortunately, some poor people bought my business, and then the whole bottom fell out of the economy shortly after. I certainly didn't plan it that way. But selling that business sort of left me with, I sort of made quite some money from that, which kind of made me, I could just relax from the whole work thing for a while. And I think when you have that sort of extra time, that you're able to sort of devote it to looking into things that you wouldn't normally be thinking about in terms of money or the system in general. With that kind of, the fact that I had that extra time, and then coupled with the banking crash itself, it was sort of like a convergence of events now really that caused me to start thinking critically about the capitalist system in general and how it works.
So what was your business before? What did you do?
I had a CD print and duplication company. So I had that business for 10 years. We were making CDs and DVDs and printing and all sort of stuff. Another sort of business which has kind of gone by the wayside now as well. So it was part of my reason for selling it back in 2008 was obviously I knew that the future of CDs was pretty uncertain as well, you know. So little did I know that the future of money itself was uncertain too at that time. But well, we'll see.
You wrote the book, the F-Day,
yeah.
The second one of mine, which I've read, and I'm like really a big fan.
Thank you.
It's really inspiring, and whenever I feel down, I read it, and it helps me to see things from a different perspective and see the potential and possibilities again.
Yeah.
So. In this book, you tell the story of Carl Drayton. He also owned the business and then sold it. He was like more in the actual printing of brochures and stuff. So, what's the difference to you and Carl Drayton? What kind of points did you?
There was a time. I mean, writing that book was a process. Without talking about the book itself, I mean, it started off as an idea. I was going to start making it autobiographical. And then trying to extend that autobiography into a fictional future. That was my original idea for the book. But over time, I moved away from that idea for various reasons because there was people involved that I didn't think should be involved in that story. So I made some cuts and changes to it. And so really the book is very, very, very loosely based on my life, but really not based on my life at all, you know, absolutely. So maybe I used my own life as a template just to get the book started, you know. So really that was it. So there's no relationship really between myself and the character really at all. But writing that book was quite a fascinating experience because obviously when you're talking about a money-free world, money-free future, resource-based economy, open economy, whatever you talk about, most people like even if you get them to admit, okay, well, it's possible, I agree it's possible, but how do we get there? It's like the first question everyone has. So obviously I was dealing with this question lots of times from people, and I just thought, well, wouldn't it be an interesting idea to actually write a story, to catalogue a fictional story as to how it could come about. And so that was the original idea of the book, to say, okay, well, let's write a story of transition, let's see how it could unfold, and that's what I set out to do. And I have to say it was really an enjoyable experience, and I'm very happy with the book. It's like perfectly imperfect is kind of how I like to think of it, because there's loads of things in the book that they're kind of left unsaid or left unfinished, and I think that really adds to the charm of the book. Actually, I made some kind of quite large leaps in the book as well, which kind of calls on the readers to sort of fill in the gaps themselves, you know, which is kind of, I suppose, the point of the exercise as well, because who knows what transition is going to be like. I don't know, and Peter Joseph doesn't know. I mean, we're all just basically guessing. So the more we all sort of think about it ourselves in our own way is how it's going to unfold anyway, because we're all doing it, you know. It's not just it's not me doing it, no one else doing it. So we're all doing it. So that's.
I mean, you can push, but ultimately it takes a lot of people that actually
of course,
do their own part. And
and I mean, I mean, a lot of people kind of. I hear a lot of people saying to me, kind of, well, why are you doing this here when other people are doing this? Why don't you join these people and then we have more people? And I think that's a mistake, because I think that the more little ideas we have out there, the more chance we have of actually doing ideas that work. For example, if everyone just packed up their stuff and went with the Venus Project, then that means we're going at 100% Venus Project approach, which may not be the right one. Maybe it is, but it may not be the right one. Yeah. But whereas if we have loads of hundreds and thousands of little groups all doing kind of their own little versions maybe of something similar, then it gives you a bigger chance of success.
So it will actually then, like evolution, find what works and what doesn't.
Like an evolution of ideas, exactly. So the best ideas go forward, and of course that doesn't preclude somebody coming along and stealing my ideas and say, well, I like what he did there, so I'm going to take his ideas, twist it around, make something else, and that's absolutely what it's about. People recycle the ideas and improve them and keep moving on. Probably the Free Will Charter might not be in existence in 10 years' time, but maybe something else will replace it that's better or something. I don't know. It's just. But the important thing is that we're moving and we just keep putting stuff out there. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Great. What's keeping you going, like in the face of the sometimes overwhelming and like seemingly unstoppable amount of suffering and pain in the world, and also all the people that are actually defending and enforcing it?
Yeah. I know it can be depressing sometimes to. Not so much to think about the poverty and stuff that goes on in the world, because I got to be honest, I sort of live maybe in a first world country, so I'm not really immediately exposed to that. Yeah. So, but I know obviously that goes on. But I suppose to look at it dispassionately, it's more statistics from where we are. We know that these terrible things go on in these countries, but okay, there's terrible things go on all the time. We can't deal with everything. So, but one of the things that I see a lot, and which really I find overwhelming, is the amount of financial stress that people suffer, and the stories that I hear from people, just normal people. I'm not talking about poor people, I'm talking about rich people. I'm talking about people like me, or people who are on a similar level, who are just basically struggling and just really pissed off, because I don't have enough money to pay the rent this month, And I know you can say, these first world problems, these people are not really in poverty, and that's true, but it's still suffering and misery for no reason, And
Exactly. It's still stressful.
Yeah, it's still stressful. So you have to, I know you have whatever statistics you have, or how many people below the poverty line in the world, but how many people are actually above the poverty line and below the wealth line, or whatever that is, who are just really miserable because of the pressures of financial existence? How many marriages, for example, are suffering because of financial pressure? This is a huge problem, so it's just these normal sort of stories that I'm exposed to personally in my life. I find I get angry about it a little bit, because it's so ridiculous that this thing has to happen. There's this person that I know who's a really, really good person, and they're really talented and they're really smart, and yet they got all this bullshit that they have to put up with, I think it's terrible, so it's but of course, we can talk about the people who are in.
I basically know a little bit what you mean, like when I go into a store and there's so much stuff, and it's just there and you could just take it, and but you can't afford it. But it's there.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is, the other thing that I find overwhelming is TV, watching television.
Yeah.
I just cannot watch television now, because for me it's like this big shouting box in the corner, screaming, with this stupid messages, we care for you, so buy our product, and all these crappy little little messages to just trying to sucker people in with selling bullshit, and these ads for finance loans. Do you need £1,000? We got you covered. Pay back in it's just basically like loan sharks who've got TV cameras, basically. So it's I don't know. This TV is like stop. We don't have a TV in our house for a long time, which is great. So when I go into someone's house and they have a TV on, it's like, whoa, It's, It's really
I know what you mean.
shocking.
I didn't grow up with a TV. My parents never had a TV. It was only when I went to grandparents or stuff that I was able to watch. So there were good times. Like my grandfather, he would show me all the time these natural documentaries. That was so awesome.
But TV is good. It has some good points, obviously, and I was exposed to lots of really good programs when I was younger. But I think nowadays it's just become so really consumer orientated more than ever. And I think the advertisers and the marketeers have just got so good at it. They know exactly what type of ad to do. They know to just keep repeating it. And it doesn't matter if the message is stupid, because they're not aiming the message at you anyway. They're aiming at someone who doesn't think it's stupid, basically. And they just repeat. It's like like the Nigerian email scam, you know, you just keep sending out millions of emails and
You will hit the right person eventually.
999,000 people think it's stupid, but one person thinks, oh, that's a great idea, and they get money from him, you know. That's how that
Yeah,
works.
exactly. Do you watch television series or movies or something?
No, I watch movies, yeah. I have Netflix actually, which is great. Netflix is really good, so it's just, you can control what you watch, yeah, I do like
exactly.
movies, I have to say. Movies are a great way to relax and unwind, yeah, so I do enjoy that, yeah. I like a bit of science fiction or a nice drama or something, it's good.
Yeah. So what are the things that keep you going, keep you up when you feel down?
Well, to be honest, I'm very passionate about the work that I do. I love the fact that that people are interested in what I'm doing. You know, that helps keep me ticking it over. You know, when you're writing a book, it's nice to see that people are reading it and people are appreciating it. That's a nice feeling, you know, and it makes you want to do more. And like with the charter, for example, you know, people are signing it, and it's nice to know that people are paying attention. And you read down through the comments, so that people say, well, this is really good. I love this idea, and blah blah blah. And I don't know, it's nice to see that the work is appreciated. You know, probably if it wasn't being appreciated, I would stop doing it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because.
Find something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a way of knowing that you're making a difference. You know, because at the end of the day, like, we're social animals, and we like to know we're making a difference.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
When you're doing your video recording, you want people to like the videos you're making, because if no one likes the videos you're making, you're going to stop doing it probably.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, when you see your work when you see the benefits of your work in terms of people's appreciation, that's really good.
So here we are, united again. We're free of the old. We're starting anew. So far, yet somehow we can. We're free of the old.
Once we reach the free world, what would your personal future look like? What would you do in a free world?
That's a good question. Yeah. Well, I'm a musician. First and foremost, I suppose. I've been sort of very, very attracted to music from a very early age. I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old, and played piano from about 12. And I was sort of quite a vociferous songwriter and stuff like that. So music, actually, I suppose, is possibly one of the first industries really to have been damaged quite significantly by the internet. You know, as everyone knows, that people stop buying music because when they can get it for free. So I suppose I was kind of born at the wrong time, trying to be an aspiring rock star, to actually be born into an era where actually the music business is going to go down like that. So I didn't see that one coming. But anyway, so I suppose a lot of my musical aspirations are of course still there. But I think any musician will tell you now that it's really, really hard to make money from music. Really, really hard. And I know a lot of people are doing it and they're struggling. And even if you are able to make a living at it, you're going to be working like 24/7. You're going to be gigging non-stop. And certainly at this stage of my life, that I wouldn't be interested in doing that. I do like to play concerts sometimes, but in general, no. It's to do it all the time at the level of someone like Ed Sheeran, for example, who's so famous or whatever. This guy has got to be working flat out, you know, to be making all that. You know, think of all the money that he's making, but he's really having to work hard for it. And of course, while you have the likes of Ed Sheeran doing very well, you have of course millions of people who would love to be Ed Sheeran, but just don't have the same opportunities. So the music business is really, really tough, and I suppose maybe that has a lot there's a lot of psychology, maybe even behind my sort of resistance against the system itself, because what I really wanted to do so much in my life was actually almost denied to me in some ways, you know, and because I certainly don't feel like that. Playing music is worth any less than somebody who's working in a bank, you know, and yet obviously the society seems to think differently. So I think that certainly balance needs to be redressed. But yeah, in the future, I would love to get back to recording music and making music. That's what I love most.
Yeah. So how would you choose to live? Like, where would you live? How would you live? Like in a community or more on your own?
Well, we're always in a community wherever we are. You know, none of us are an island. You know, so I live in Spain at the moment. I've travelled around quite a bit in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. Lived in a few different places. I lived in Ireland, obviously, where I'm from. I lived in Iceland. I've lived in Sri Lanka and other places. Lived in UK, and it's I like a lot of the places, but I don't think Spain is the end of the story. Probably we're going to move somewhere else, maybe at some stage. You know, my wife is Spanish, so this is why we're in Spain at the moment. But I think maybe we'll probably move out at some stage. I don't know what I do, but hopefully in this free world we won't be so rooted in the one spot.
Yeah.
Nowadays we sort of. Our lives are really rooted to our financial center, if you know what I mean. Like
exactly.
How we make our money. This is kind of where we tend to stay, you know. And then
not everyone can be a digital nomad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, some people are doing that actually.
I know.
People are doing that, which is great. But but generally we tend to stay where the money is. And funnily enough, a question that's kind of is something that something I'm thinking at the moment, but I haven't really answered is what will happen with big cities in the free world, because how many people are living in big cities simply because of financial or economical reasons, because they can work there. And now what will happen then if suddenly you don't have to live in a city to have everything you need? So that will be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of cities are maybe too crammed, you know, there's just too many people stuffed in there, and so probably there's an equilibrium between what's a good size of community. Most people don't want to live in very remote rural areas, and of course most people don't really want to live in very densely packed cities either, so there has to be a balance there somewhere. It will be interesting to see.
The ground,
Yeah.
I mean, another aspect of cities, I think, is also the ecological, that it's much more efficient. It can be much more efficient to live in cities than like everyone on their own house and stuff. So
we're having a sort of like a large way of dealing with all the sewage and the water supply and that sort of stuff. It makes a lot of logical sense to do it in cities, and people living in apartments obviously it's a cheaper way to build and house people as well. But will people want to live in apartments? I'm sure they will. In Spain, for example, everyone lives in apartments. It's kind of a normal thing over there. So it's going to be different in every country, I suppose, whatever way it pans out. But of course,
probably also what people are used to and how they grew up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but people in general tend to stick with what they're used to. But obviously, it will be different in every different culture. In the FD book, I had suggested that it would probably maybe start in one country first and spread out to other countries from there. And probably that's more than likely the way it would happen, where one country would say, "Okay, we're going to do this now," whatever country that might be. And that will be interesting to see how that runs out, because if one country can do it and show that it works, then it's automatically that other countries, and there will be pressure from people to say, well, look, if they're doing it, they can do it, why can't we doing it? Why can't we do it?
Or maybe that a city is starting.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So what ways do you see that every individual could what steps could every individual take to bridge the gap between today's world and the free world?
Well, the simple answer is anything they can. Really, anything that you think is going to help push the message forward. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're good at. If you want to make videos, if you want to write books, whatever. Just do it, do it, because everything pushing forward in that direction is not effort wasted. A lot of people say, well, we should be organised better. You shouldn't be doing that, you should be doing this, you know, and that's the wrong way to go. But I don't believe in that at all. I think that no effort is ever wasted, you know, no effort is ever wasted. Once you have the intention to kind of create something better, I think that starts. And there's lots of really good things. Let's not get run away with the whole money-free thing. There's also lots of good things happening even within the capitalist system itself. There is a huge surge towards sustainability, and governments are really quite mindful of that. So really, it's not all bad. You know, there's a lot of good stuff going on there, even in the traditional system, and that's so. It's all going to meet in the middle probably sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. Germany itself obviously is a fascinating country in the fact how much it's like taking something like 85% of sustainable energy now, which is I think more than any country in the world. And so it's quite interesting. So I mean the governments of Germany are obviously very cognizant of a particular direction things are going, and then the people like you or me or Peter Joseph are thinking of another way, and these paths are going to converge somewhere down the road, because at the end of the day a money-free society will become mainstream. It just kind of sounds daft and crazy to most people now, but really it must become mainstream thinking eventually, you know. So that'll be interesting times.
Yeah, there is some. I think, especially in Germany, there's a great steps toward ecological sustainability, but I think it's only one part of sustainability, no? Like there is also social sustainability. Just yesterday my girlfriend sent me a book that talks about more and more people actually giving birth to their children in a car because they can't reach the hospital or because the hospital is full.
Yeah, wow. That's happening in Germany, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's even worse in America.
Yeah,
I read that it's like they have to drive from home to the hospital 100 kilometers, and here in Germany it's 40, but still like. And that's supposed to be sustainable?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, the whole health system. Obviously, no one. I mean, the government, which is kind of turning its head more towards sustainability now, which is a good thing. But no one is looking at the health system or the education system. Those things have been sort of left out. Obviously, these things have to be completely overhauled. You know, I mean, the idea that anyone can actually die of a disease that can be cured with a simple tablet. Doesn't matter how much a tablet costs, you know. I mean, and even the very fact that you might sell a tablet for €500, something is just absolutely insane. You know, it makes no sense. You know, it's like it's nothing to do with saving lives. It's nothing to do with helping people. It's just to do with profit. You know, and so it's absolutely insane, the health system. Yeah, so that will have to go. And of course, the other aspect of health, and I think which is also coming to the fore in sort of. Fringe thinking is the more holistic health approach, rather like instead of looking to pharmaceutical cures, but looking to changing lifestyle, changing diets and all this sort of stuff. I think this is going to be a really big thing in the next, it's already starting, but it's going to be a really big thing in the next few years. A lot of people are turning towards veganism now, for example, and this kind of spurring the whole movement of people thinking about their health not in terms of how to cure a problem when you have it, but how to stop a problem before you have it, you know, which is the ultimate solution. You know, there's so many things we can prevent in our daily lives by changing the way we live our lives and changing our exercise habits and diet habits, and of course just being generally happier and being more fulfilled in yourself. You know, this is probably the greatest preventer of diseases at all, you know.
Exactly.
Stress, I mean, sorry, I mentioned earlier about financial stress. You know, we know now, I mean, it's documented over and over again that stress is basically a higher killer than smoking. You know, it's much more dangerous than smoking, and yet our society is really riddled with stress, you know, which is a really big problem.
So do you think there will be, before we are actually in the free world, there will be like this kind of parallel system?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. We have to. You have to imagine that the system that we have now works in a certain way. You have a profit system. You do something, you get paid for that. There's a kind of an instant sort of reward system for that, and then we're moving to something that's basically not quite opposite to that, but it's different. Yeah. Whereas rather than I do something for you, therefore you do something of exactly the same value for me, whereas it would be more like I might do something for you, and then you might go and do something for someone else. And because we're all engaging in that, and we all have confidence in that system, that's how the system will work. That we'll become more cooperative, and we'll become more confident in the community, and the fact that we know that we can get the things that we need from our community by us all just participating a little bit in that. So at the moment we have this kind of what I call like a closed loop economic system, where I do something for you for 20 euros and you do something for me for 20 euros, and that's it. That's the transaction is over, and no one else is involved in that transaction. It's a very limiting way, because obviously if I don't have something of equivalent value to give to you, then we can't trade, it's ridiculous, so. And it doesn't have to. I mean, people say, well, that's why we have money, so I don't have to trade my pig for your sheep, for example.
But you still have to trade the money.
But then you have to have the money, and then you have to trade your labour for the money. So that doesn't work either. So, but the sort of open economy works where basically, when you have a sufficient number of people who have confidence in that circular system, that I do something for you, and therefore you will do something for else, and they will do something for someone else, and it'll come back to me in the long run. And it needs like a certain amount of people to make that viable,
Yeah. Okay, so last question.
Yes.
Would you like to share something that's alive in you at the moment?
That's what?
Alive in you.
Alive in me.
Yes. You are interested. That's in your mind.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to be discussing a new project that we just launched. Hello. Discussing a new project that we're launching at the moment. It's Z-Day tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. It's basically we're setting up like a hybrid company, which is it's called Free World One. The idea is to promote projects that advance our ideas, advance the idea of a money-free society, of an open economy. There's lots of ways that we can do that are actually within the profit system, that are ways that we can actually make money from, earn money from, and use that money then, disperse that out to fund the projects and to create more projects like that. So it's a really exciting idea, because it's a lot of the time the people who work at this kind of thing, the stuff that I do, they feel locked in the ideology that basically, because I'm promoting a money-free society, I can't use money to do that. So therefore, I must be whatever, whiter than white, and not engage with that. But of course, the reality is that we are in a money system. 99.999% of people are in that system. And the most efficient way that we can get things done is probably through that system, And it's at some stage we can keep going this, if we can create a really profitable company that's actually able to sustain itself and to bring along other new projects and create other projects that can also create income. You end up with kind of bringing this whole thing inside out, where you're actually creating so many projects that are actually supporting that idea that you actually don't need the profit system to support it anymore. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about, obviously, is education, and one of the projects that we're going to be bringing in the Free World One project is educational books. And one of the things that I always think about in education, and somebody mentioned it to me once, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit, was they say, well, why do we put all children together at the same age? Why do we do that? And it never occurred to me before. Well, why do we do that? Because it's obviously, maybe the logical mind thinks, okay, all the 5-year-olds learn this, all the 6-year-olds learn this, 7-year-olds learn that.
Because they're all the same at age.
Life isn't like that. You go out in the world, you don't meet everyone exactly the same age, and of course, younger people are not stupider than older people, and older people are not stupider than younger people. Everyone can learn from each other, So education should be like very much a circular process, where the adults can gain from the kids and the kids can gain from the adults, and this sort of stuff. So I'd love to see a kind of a more like a group learning sort of scenario where kids just get together and just figure stuff out, instead of a teacher just writing a load of facts on a blackboard. Get kids together and get them to figure stuff out, because that's a much more exciting way to learn, That's something I'm very excited about, so I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow.
That's awesome. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that talk more in depth.
Me too.
Great. So thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Get loud. finna caught this whole goddamn one that been.
What's the name of your channel?
So come on, people, get live with me. Rich T on the strings and the STE. Flex so hard you won't believe it's a hip hop flow on the guitar string.
I actually have no idea if I just call it Raphi Say, and that's basically my personal brand. And
That's perfect.
then I make like different playlists, some time lapse maybe, and maybe also some like the future talks.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Future talks, yeah.